Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be answering a question that I get pretty much daily on the channel, and that is the Fuuton or the BFight 210. And the quick answer is the Fuuton. Why is that? Well, it's the model that works the best straight out of the box. You don't have to do any modifications. It's really easy to set up. And these days, the price between these two is pretty similar. But there's also some other reasons why I think this is the better model. The first one is the frame. The frame has got thicker arms, and despite that, it's actually the same weight as this with a battery. I will overlay me weighing both of these two. They both come in at 448 grams, and that's a little bit unfair as well because I still have got the GoPro Session 5 mount on the Fuuton. So actually this one weighs less because this one does not come with a GoPro mount. Now, the Fuuton, it comes with propellers that are more suited to the motors than these ones. These ones draw too many amps. They work, but I would prefer these propellers on here, or maybe some Dal Cyclones, something like that. And then on the Fuuton, it comes with a buzzer already installed. This one does not. You have to install it yourself. And we also have on the Fuuton a working current sensor. So on the on-screen display it tells you the current draw, and on this one has got two current sensors, but none of them are wired up correctly, so it doesn't work. As for the motors, they are very similar. We actually have a higher kV motor on the Fury B. These are 2500 kV and these are 2300 kV, and yeah, very similar spec motors. Now, where we do have some differences is the camera. They are both CCD, but the Fuuton has a 2.5mm lens and the BFight a 2.1mm lens, but they're both very similar. I can't tell the difference between them, and they are both of great quality. So, if this is the best out of the box, why is this even a contender? Well, this is where it gets interesting. So the Fuuton is the best because it's the best out of the box. However, the BFight, if you do a little bit of tinkering, actually is the quickest model and has newer components. Okay, so when I reviewed this, I was getting some jitters on the yaw, and I fixed that by installing some very cheap soft mounts. I think they were about £1.90 or something like that. They are the soft mounts from the Eachine Wizard X220S. You also then have to acquire some longer screws so that they can reach the back of the motor. Other than that, though, we have got 30 amp ESCs in here, and they are BL Heli S ESCs. Now, these are BL Heli S ESCs, but they are only 20 amp against the 30 amp, which isn't really a problem, but they only support one-shot 125 and D-shot 150, so you might as well use multi-shot with this model. Now, these support D-shot 600, and again you can see I've added a buzzer there. Now, one thing that is also better on the BFight compared to the Fuuton is the VTX. The VTX on the Fuuton, it's a 600 milliwatt VTX, which is fine if you're flying on your own, but if you want to fly in competition or fly with other people, 600 milliwatt, it's going to wash out some of the other channels and you might struggle to fly with other people. That being said, it does have an LED board on the back, which is good for flying with other people, whereas the BFight does not have that whatsoever. This one has a switcher on it, so it switches between 25 milliwatt and 200 milliwatt, so much better for flying with other people. This one actually comes as a BNF now, but when I reviewed it, it was a plug and fly, so you had to put your own receiver on it, but that now comes with a receiver built into it. And the receiver on this one, it's only a D8 receiver and it's very small, and I would imagine that it's not got as much range as this one. This one, of course, also has the sleeve dipole antenna, but it gives as good of a reception as a cloverleaf antenna does, I think, just because of the quality of the VTX and also how high up this goes as well. But again, you have to faff around with it. I had to put over some heat shrink here so that it doesn't whack into the propellers there. And another thing I had to faff around with was the S-bus wire on this, so you can control the VTX from your transmitter. However, got a little white cable here, and that is the S-bus that is connected to the transmitter. And on the auxiliary 2, which you would usually have for your modes, that changes the 8 channels on here. And if you have a failsafe, it switches the VTX whilst you're in the air. So you have to unplug that for that to be useful, in my opinion. And of course, you've still got a little button there. The BFight also has the on-screen display built into Betaflight, so you can change the settings there, whereas the Fuuton, as it's a little bit older, it's using multi-wii on-screen display, so you have to have a FTDI adapter to change it. However, the on-screen display is very good on this model anyway. I didn't need to change anything, and you can also change a lot of the settings going through the on-screen display anyways. So yeah, all that we are getting really on this model is just updated components. We also have a micro SD card there as well for black box, whereas you don't get that on the Fuuton, but I very rarely use that feature anyways. So to recap, the best model out of the box is the Fury B Fuuton, but if you don't mind a bit of tinkering, the best model is this one. So that is my answer. And one thing that I'm going to do next is I'm going to fly both of them at the same time. I'm going to do a side-by-side punch-out of these two, and then I'm also going to fly them FPV one after the other and see which one I prefer flying-wise when it comes to the characteristics. So let's take a look at the punch-outs. This is the Fuuton 200 here. Let's take a listen. Definitely the loudest of the two. And then the BFight. It doesn't sound as fast, but let's put them both together. So we have the Fuuton on the left and the BFight on the right here. And every time the BFight felt much faster, and it got more height as well. Let's take a look at another one. Again, the BFight getting much more air. It just doesn't sound as fast. My feelings towards the BFight doesn't stop there either. I prefer the flight characteristics of it. Now, this is probably just my personal preference, but it feels a lot more floaty. It feels like there is more air time. With the Fuuton, it feels like it drops a lot quicker, which might be better for racing, but for freestyle, when trying to get a lot of maneuvers in, I just find that the BFight is more rewarding. That being said, both of these models are fantastic. They both fly fantastic. Both of these are the best of the best. They are amazingly priced. They both have great features, and I stand by my conclusion that out of the box the Fuuton is better, but with a little bit of tinkering the BFight is better. So that might not be the answer that you want, but it's my conclusion, and I don't think you will go wrong with either of them. I know one thing, I certainly find myself flying the BFight a lot more than I do the Fuuton. Both of them have got a little bit of noise that filters through from the power system, but again, it's better than a lot of the other models out there. We're currently on board with the BFight, by the way, and just look how much air it gets very quickly. Yeah, that might be down to the props. As I say, these are the stock props. And yeah, the Fuuton has a higher KV, so it screams. So if that's your thing, then the Fuuton definitely sounds faster. It definitely sounds more aggressive. But what I really like about this one is it's faster and it's quieter as well. I don't like to cause much of a disturbance because I have people around me living in their houses, so of course if that's not a problem for you, then the Fuuton's aggressive sound might suit you better, because it certainly sounds better, that's for sure. But yeah, I did a flight one after the other, and I was favouring the characteristics of the BFight over the Fuuton. So let's come in for a landing, and let's go and take the Fuuton up for a fly. So as you can see, the picture's very similar, and yeah, again, just a tiny little bit of noise. This is literally one flight after the other. They are both running the same 4S battery. It's the Tattoo R-Line 1300 milliamp 4S. And yeah, I mean, like I say, they're both really good models, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of arguing in the comments, but that's fine. Let me know what you think. Let me know which one you think is the best, and let me know if you agree with what I've come up with as well. I think it's hard to argue that the Fuuton has got the best out of the box performance. You don't have to change anything. It's even got that GoPro mount that comes with it, and it weighs the same as the BFight with the mount, so technically you could say that it is lighter. And yeah, very similarly priced now. I think when I originally reviewed the Fuuton, it was about £170, and it's now about 130, and you can get the BFight for about 120, but then of course you have to add on the top of that your batteries and your controller and your FPV goggles. So I'm using FactShock Dominators. Here's actually the HD2s because my HD3s are in for repair, but I usually use the HD3s. You can see there that we have a current meter at the bottom as well. Now, I very rarely look at it, but yeah, you do have that extra option on the Fuuton there. And it's easier to add a GoPro, though I tend not to fly with GoPros these days. I prefer how the models fly without them. But just look how much quicker the Fuuton loses height compared to the BFight. These both are running the same version of Betaflight. I have tuned the PIDs on both of them to my liking, so yeah, we can take that into a factor as well. And they both get a very similar flight time. I just prefer the characteristics of the BFight. That's it. So, yeah, as I say again, best out of the box is the Fuuton, but after tinkering, the best with flight characteristics for me is the BFight. I hope you found this video enjoyable and useful, and I'll put links in the description for both. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.